Hello. So today we are with Manu, and Manu is an expert in AI agents and everything AI that we know and love in the last couple of years. Uh, Hi, Manu.
Hi, Eran. Thank you for having me.
So, Manu, recently you wrote an article called Deciphering Agents, MCP's Skills. And before we get into any of it, do you think that we're all so confused that you really felt that we need to uh, write an article about it, that we need this information?
So MCP has been a while for quite some time, and agents, of course, it's something we all discuss. But recently, a new concept came into that arena, and these are the skills. And skills confused many stakeholders, many practitioners confuse the skill with an MCP. We do understand that we need to give our agent power to execute things in the world. But we thought that MCP is exactly designed for that. And now with these skills, what do skills do in relation to MCPs? Do they replace MCPs? Is MCP dead? Which I've heard. Um, are we moving away from MCP to skills? What's the story? And that's a classical case of just pure confusion because MCPs and skills complement each other. They don't replace each other. It creates a triangle of orchestration, knowledge, and execution, which I had to explain to my peers, and I had to explain all around, I would say, and that's what that drove me to write this article. It's kind of a trinity that we need to bring together.
Okay, we'll dive deeper into all the details. And so you describe it in your article as an analogy to renovating a shower, a contractor, a hardware store, YouTube tutorials. So walk me through it. But before that, did you actually renovate a shower? And does it come from that?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a true story. And I decided to do it myself because I'm a builder and I love to build things. And as I'm, breaking my old shower and doing the hard work, I'm thinking to myself, and I find that this is a project that is hard to do. It requires a lot of knowledge and coordination. There's a lot of questions and challenges and things to resolve. And as I go through this, I say, oh, this is like project at work. This is a hard problem to solve. And that brought me that analogy 100%. It's a true story.
So the agent is the decision maker, right? The contractor, and walk me through the rest of the items there.
So I'll begin with trust. I have a hard problem to solve. And maybe, like my wife, I don't trust myself. Like my wife does not trust me. And she would say, because I don't trust you, let me bring a contractor. And and that is of course legitimate. There's many ways why not to trust, many reasons why she should not trust me. Um, and she would bring a contractor that she trusts. Another beautiful thing with that contractor is that she does not need to orchestrate anything. She does not need to manage anything. She just pays, a good premium to that contractor, and he will handle everything. Now, she is very optimistic, thinking that the contractor will arrive and will do things on time and will be on budget. But let's give her that doubt, and let's assume that the contractor uh, is a good one and he will actually do the work as expected. For her, it's very, very simple. She just outsource all of the challenges, all of the issues, all of the worries with the project, and she's good to go. So the contractor is an element of trust and an element of orchestration. He manages the work, and there's a lot of details in that work. There's a lot of sub challenges that need to be resolved. There's a lot to do in fixing your shower or renovating your shower. It's a big project. She does not need to think about that. She trusts him, and he will orchestrate everything.
And
So
the
an
contractor is then
agent,
the agent, right? The agent that
exactly,
orchestrates everything.
exactly. So that's the agent. The agent is an element of orchestration, and an agent is an element of trust. He has all of the knowledge. He has all of the memory. He has all of the tools. He has everything in place, what we call context, to fulfill the job from A to Z. That's the agent.
Okay, and then the other parts, how you did some analogy to MCPs and to the skills and things like that. So how do you define those if we do the analogy to the shower renovation?
And then I decided to do it myself.
Okay.
So I trust myself, and I decided I'll take that challenge. So now I'm the element of trust, and I'm the orchestrator. So when I need to orchestrate things, I need to go about and renovate my shower, and I need two things. I need tools. I know, I need a hammer, and I need a saw, and I need a lot of power tools to do the job, and I need knowledge. I cannot cut the tile, just by describing how to cut a tile. I need a saw. I need a cutter. I need a good cutting machine or a good cutting device, a table saw or whatever. I need a good tool to go and cut the tiles to fit. I don't have that tool. I need to bring that tool. So I went to Walmart, or I went to Home Depot, or whatever hardware store close by, and I would buy the tools there. So I go in Home Depot, and I would find so many different tools, and each one of them would describe what that tool does, what is characteristics, how does it operate, etc. And then I go and I bring the tools, I buy the tool, I discover the tool. So with an MCP server or a collection of MCP servers, we identify the tools that we need. So we discover. MCP starts with discovery. And in MCP, you have every tool has a description. So we look at that description. I know what I need. So
Mhm.
I'm looking at those descriptions, and then I choose the tool that I need. And once I've identified the tool, I buy the tool. So now that's like an MCP client that I bring home, and now I create an instance of that tool. So now I have the table saw in my garage.
So basically, when you need a tool for whatever you need to do with your AI agent, whatever your AI agent needs to do, the AI agent goes, finds an MCP server. There is a list of tools there, or some kind of combination of tools. It chooses the right tools out of that, brings them back to your computer or to your environment, and
Correct.
sets up a skill, or not a skill, sorry, sets up a client to use that tool.
Yeah, yeah. You have a host and a server and a client. Never mind. I get an instance of that tool available to me. Now, I'm an agent. Now I have a tool available to me. But the tool is not enough.
Mhm.
I need knowledge how to use the tool. And before skills, that was an open point that was not standardized. So the way to purchase, to discover and purchase the tool, that was standardized with MCPs. And that's fantastic. Now I can bring the tool. But how to use the tools, that knowledge was not standardized at all. So we would write knowledge articles, and we would write all sorts of specifications. We would do all sorts of tricks just to bring the domain knowledge so the agent will use it correctly and will use the tools with that knowledge to execute the work. And that's exactly where skills come into play. they standardize the way that we articulate that knowledge, that we package that knowledge, that we share that knowledge. Skills are not tools. Skills are knowledge how to use the tools.
So if we're talking about renovating our shower, and I have a an impact drill,
Yeah,
the fact that I have it doesn't mean that I know how to use it. I actually need to know how to use it, need to have the skill in my hands or
yeah.
learn the
So
skill to use it. And that's what you're saying. Basically, your AI environment will learn, the agent will go shop for that tool in the MCP server, bring an instance of that tool with it, and then look up a skill in order to know exactly how to use that tool.
exactly. Now I did the same because I don't know how to fix a shower, and as I said, there are very good reasons why my wife does not trust me. So I had to learn myself. That's
Mhm.
fun for me, something like I like to do. I know that it's not going to be professional by any means, but it's good enough for me. It makes me happy. So I go and learn. How do I learn? Well, I discover knowledge. How do I discover knowledge? Well, YouTube. So I watch in YouTube all sorts of other projects and people explaining how they renovate a shower, and I adapt it to my scenario, and eventually I build my knowledge, the knowledge that I need, how to use the tools and go about and execute the project. But still, I have now the tools, I have the knowledge. I need to orchestrate things together. I need to go and do things by order, and then sometimes I'll have to redo things. For example, when I put the floor, I did not do I did not put the tiles properly, so it didn't feel very balanced, and the water did not flow as expected. I didn't do a good job. So I showed it to my wife, and she is my evaluation agent. And she said, "Excuse me, my friend, this is not acceptable. Go and redo it." So I went and did it again. But now, based on that experience, on the memory that I've had, now I know how to place the tiles appropriately so everything would feel smoothly, and the water will flow as expected, and everything runs well. Um, that's the beauty of a feedback loop. So I have an evaluation agent, my wife. I have myself as an orchestrator of knowledge and tools and execution. So I go and execute, and eventually I'm evaluated until, with a few iterations, I get to complete the job, and she is happy.
So basically, if an agent brings a skill in and it didn't do a good job, then this agent can just improve that skill immediately to redo the job and get a better result for you.
You could say that, but mostly the skill is like that YouTube video. I don't change the book. I don't
Mhm.
rewrite the knowledge. Um, I might, go and do that at a later stage, but in an existing execution or an existing project, I would give myself feedback. Maybe I did not use the knowledge um, appropriately. Maybe I did a few mistakes here and there, which I did, of course. And eventually, it gets me. The book says the same, but the skill stays the same. But eventually, it gets me to improve. Um, so with a few iterations, I get to complete the job in a good enough quality. What's important to say here is that the orchestrator agent, the generator agent, the executor agent, which is me in this case, cannot be the evaluator agent, because I can say it all myself. I fell in love with the shower I created. It wasn't a good one, but I loved it. Only when I brought my wife to evaluate my work, she said, "Well, that's not perfect, and there's an imperfection here and there. go and redo your work. And it took me a few weeks to get and do that because it felt bad. I was really hurt. Um, so the separation of evaluation from generation, only that competition between generation and evaluation eventually gets you to the quality that you expect.
Well, we really need to hope that the AI agents don't develop these kind of emotional attachment to their work. Uh,
They do.
they do.
They
Okay.
do. If you ask an
It's
agent to evaluate its work, Anthropic just released an article about that, and it would praise its work.
okay. Well, we talked a little bit about the standardization of MCPs and skills and stuff like that. Now, I read somewhere that MCPs were just introduced like a year and a half ago.
Something like that. Yeah.
And skills is fairly recent. I mean, I'm following everything AI for the last couple of years, and I haven't seen skills coming up 2 years ago. It's just in the last months or so, I think.
Well, a good few months, but yeah, it's relatively new.
So, I mean, and you called it the USB-C port for AI.
Yeah.
USB-C took a long time to actually become something that everybody uses, and it's the go-to standard for everything. So why should we now say, okay, these are the standards, this has been created, and this is gonna stay like that?
Standardization. And we saw that drive within skills as well as with MCPs and tools for knowledge and action. And yes, technology is accelerating, so the pace of change is not as it was 10 years ago. But there is a real motivation because we see some common, a dominant in the market orchestration frameworks or orchestration tools where everything should come together, such as Cloud Code or Cloud Code Cowork. Or I want all of my skills and all of my tools to work together within that framework. Or if I'm a developer and I'm using Cursor, that's my IDE. This is where I live. I need to bring all of these tools and to meet the developer where they are and to meet me where I am. So you need to create that integration. And to be able to create that integration, you need standardization. So there was a big drive in the industry to come up with some standard, and MCP won. It took the industry by storm because now everything connected to those IDEs or to those environments. And with skills, it's a similar story. Now I can easily author these skills and integrate them into my co-work environment or integrate them into my agentic framework. That could be, I don't know, semantic kernel or Microsoft agent framework or LangGraph or any other agent framework today is accepting that standard because the market demands it.
Yeah. Now we talked about the skills quite a bit, and I mean, when I look at skill, it's basically a markdown file. I mean, it's just markdown files, some text. Sounds a bit underwhelming. I mean, we could make some, I mean, we could now, during this interview, even in like a few seconds, we could create a skill. There's also Skill Creator today that
Yes,
creates skills. So it feels like I'm missing something. Why is skills such a big deal?
it's a big deal because it's a standard of how to articulate your knowledge and how to package knowledge, not only by text, but sometimes knowledge includes some code. You could bring code snippets or resources other than just pure text, but to bring it together into a standard structure in an MD file that can easily be maintained by humans and machine. So it's machine readable or machine friendly and human friendly format. And if you think about it, there are no many formats that are as friendly to both humans and machine. Markdown has kind of a magic. It's beautiful to see that. It's really magic. Where presented in any editor, it looks like a beautiful file, and you see the structure, you see the hierarchy. It relates to our understanding of semantics. Our instincts are really well captured in an MD file, but it's also very easy for a machine to understand that same semantic. If you take JSON, for example, um, it is not easy to describe complex semantics in JSON. So it's great for machines, not very great for humans. Now, information, knowledge has semantics to it. There are relations in the structure of the text that say something about the text. You know, when you have a title and a subtitle and a subtitle and some kind of organization of a table, it means something. It is more than just a graphical representation of something. There's a meaning there. And so MD, Markdown file, are great format to capture knowledge. Both humans and machine can grasp it. And this is why doubling down on Markdown for knowledge representation is a beautiful choice.
So what you're saying, if I get it right, is that even people who are not very technical could take a markdown file and see that the skill does something, but they need it a little bit different for their specific use and they want to keep it in their environment. So they could basically write a few lines there and change that skill to meet whatever they need exactly.
Exactly. It's a beautiful opportunity to expand the agentic, revolution, or call it as you wish, or agentic transformation outside of the coding community. Now everybody in the business community and in the private community can develop their own agents, their own skills. Uh, they can collaborate on skills. You can download a skill from the web. You can tweak it according to your scenario, exactly like what I did with YouTube. I looked I looked on the web, so I looked in the community, so to speak. I brought some knowledge, and then I tweaked it a bit because my shower is special, right? And my situation is special, and then I use that knowledge, and that's beautiful to see. That empowers so many people around us. The barriers are much lower, and I'm super optimistic about what it would mean for the future of work and the future of productivity.
Yeah, I actually like the fact that you make an analogy of the skills with the YouTube videos where you say, okay, I watched these videos and I learned the skill, but my shower is different. So I had to adapt the skill that I downloaded from somewhere in order to create it or make it work with your agent, which is you basically. But
Yes,
that's okay. That is yeah that's a really great analogy and I think it's super understandable and I really like it. Now let's just I want to just dig deeper and stress test it a little bit more. I mean we have agents, right? We have the MCP, we have the skills, and then you were talking about also A2A, agent to agent, right? We touched a little bit on that on the feedback loop. So what are the standards there, and how does this entire thing work?
so my project was relatively simple. It was me, it was tools, it was knowledge, and I worked alone. And that was my good few weekends. um, and eventually I managed to do it, but I wouldn't be able to build the whole house. I did a fairly small project. When your project becomes more complex, you need to delegate. You cannot do everything by a single agent. And yes, there is an evaluation agent which is separate to that agent. Okay, so we always have two agents, but still we have a single generator. Um, and that would just not scale. I need to bring a team of agents. And now it's interesting to think about trust again, to encapsulate that trust. I could say that I am a supervisor agent and I know everything and I have all the knowledge in the world and I can use other people as tools. So they know nothing, they have no control whatsoever. I tell them what to do, but it's a pair of hands that can do something and they could put my tiles for that matter or whatever. But I can say, you know what, I need an expert here. I need an expert in electricity, or I need a plumber, an expert in plumbing. I do not know how to do plumbing. I do, by the way. I did plumbing myself, but never mind that. Let's say um, to go by code, I need to bring an expert plumber and an expert electrician, and I do not tell them what to do. I give them a project. It's going to be a sub project. They're not going to be responsible for the whole renovation of my house, for that matter. Um, but they will be responsible for a sub element or a sub project in that project. Now they are back in control. They control from A to Z all about electricity and plumbing. I do not deal with that. I just pay.
Mhm.
They are another agent. They bring their own tool, they bring their own knowledge, they orchestrate the work eventually to complete the requirements of my sub project. And this is where A2A come into play. When one agent delegates the work and and trust, control and trust are delegated to another agent, this is where we'll see the A2A protocol come into play. Again, like in MCP, there's a level of discovery. You know, I'm old, so I remember what the white pages used to look like, literally. So we looked at the white pages, and you look, I would,
You mean the yellow pages,
the
right?
yellow pages, sorry, the yellow
Yeah.
pages.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
sorry about that. Yeah, so yeah, that was stupid. But yes, I used to browse the yellow pages to look for an electrician. Now, I would do it differently, but still, I am doing some discovery to find an expert in something, in plumbing. I would bring a plumber or the electrician, and then I would give them their project, which is a sub project from the whole renovation, and then they would go and do their thing. Um,
And they would then also coordinate between themselves because sometimes they cannot be at the same place, same time, or they're depending on each other. And they would also basically go and to their own MCP servers, find the tools that they need and look for the skills that they need, right? And the uh, overarching agent wouldn't even know, or maybe it knows, but it wouldn't care. It just delegated that, and this work had to be done by a sub agent.
Exactly. Now, one of the great example of that, how we can take a massive project and break it automatically into um, multiple agents working in concert, is OpenClaw. OpenClaw eventually is an operating system of agents,
Mhm.
and the magic in OpenClaw is that it automates all of that reliably, fairly reliably. So multiple agents working together, each one of them bring their own knowledge and tools, etc. And they do their thing, and they are orchestrated, and they are scheduled, and they are controlled, and they provide feedback loops, etc. All of this work together, beautifully, and the power is amazing. So you see this in action beautifully with OpenClaw.
So there's one thing that crosses my mind about. So we have this overarching agent, and this agent starts delegating to other agents. But at some point, doesn't it create so much overhead that all this orchestrating cancels out some of the intelligence gains that we have with AI?
That's always the problem of control. And ROI, we have so many projects where we introduce technology for the sake of technology, and we kill productivity. So there's always a balance there. There's a cost to everything. There's a cost in time and tokens and reliability. Um, and we see this with coding projects today. You would have imagined that now we have Claude or Cursor or so many coding agents, and therefore the work of the software developers will be eliminated altogether, and we wouldn't see any developers at all, and software projects would be instant, and the world would be happy. Well, it's not the case. Not only that it's not the case, we see sometimes that a development project take longer when using code agentic coders than it would with manual, legacy writing code. Um, and there are many reasons. And one of them are the reasons that you described. Not all scenarios are optimal. Sometimes you'd introduce noise, and now you need to cancel that noise, and you identify that noise. And project management is hard. Um, so there's no silver bullet here. Some places are easily automated, and you see the benefit and you see ROI very clearly. But this is something to be very well aware of and control and govern. Um,
Yeah, one thing that I'm imagining now is that if multiple agents working on one project and they don't collaborate well, this can turn into a very expensive and big bug.
Absolutely. And you can get to an infinite loop of, retry and retry and retry forever. So you must put guardrails, and you must put some monitoring and governance on your agentic flows to make sure you adhere to your business standards. Absolutely.
So another thing that I we talked about, markdown files are so easy to edit and to use, and for everybody can basically do whatever they want with them. Um, how do we how do we look at this ecosystem and make sure that the ecosystem doesn't fill up with useless skills that people just created in tons and tons, and I mean I myself with Claude have created skills that I needed specifically, so it was really easy to create like 5 skills in a few minutes with Cloud Cowork, not even Cloud Code. So how do we make sure that this doesn't explode?
Everybody can write a book. And how many nonsense books are there? Um, Everybody can write an article and publish it on the web. And how much nonsense do you have on the web? Even Wikipedia now is polluted with nonsense. And Wikipedia has a great mechanism for governance and to filter out nonsense. And even Wikipedia um, does not handle the level of everybody can create content. Every can write a book. So you need to have a good and established governance, I would say, strategy to make sure that the knowledge that you bring is trustworthy. Exactly like you interview your employees and make sure that they use the right knowledge. Exactly like you certify knowledge and you control knowledge in content management systems. And sometimes depending on the type of knowledge, but you'll have to have someone sign off on that knowledge. You'll have to have certification. You'll have to have quality checks. Um, someone needs to read that knowledge and approve it on a certain cadence. Um, it works here. It's the same here as well. I would say that I saw um, many developers or many practitioners, they download all the skills from Anthropics, just download everything to their environment. And now they ask their agent to go and execute something, and they would see that the performance degrades. Because if you have too much knowledge that can be conflicting, you will confuse your agent. So before you run any orchestration, you need to choose the knowledge that you bring, and you need to certify that knowledge. You do not bring another conflicting skill that would sit next to it, because if you bring two manuals which are slightly different, you'll confuse the user of these manuals, never mind if it's a human or an agent. So you need to be very clear about what knowledge do you need to use for that project, and only bring that relevant knowledge. Long story short, governance is important here. There's tons of nonsense out there, and we know this for 20 years on the web. So there's nothing new under the sun here. You need to know what you're bringing. Do not confuse your agent. Bring only the knowledge that you need, and you'll be all right.
And from trusted sources.
Absolutely.
So, last question for you. So, kind of practical. Somebody wants to start working with agents tomorrow, and what's the one thing that they should do, or what, and what they should not do? Well, we already know that they should keep governance and make sure that they get the right stuff. But what else?
First depends who you are, if you are a coder or not. Um, but I would start small, like any new technology or any new skill and knowledge. The same applies here. Um, so I would start small, and I would start with implementing that triangle of orchestration, knowledge, and execution. That are the tools, MCP, knowledge in skills, in the orchestration in an agent. Understand that triangle and go and implement it in your environment of choice. For a non-developer, that would be something like Claude Cowork. Um, it's a beautiful, a very cheap and very easy environment to work with. And you'll implement that triangle. Once you are a developer for a development task, you will do the same with Cloud Code, but it's the same principle. And only if you are a developer and you want to build agentic systems on agentic frameworks such as um, LangGraph or CoolAI or any SDK, an OpenAI SDK, and so on. Only then I would go and drill down into the code and implement agents as code. But today there are so many friendly business-like environment to implement agents on that I would not go to develop on or even learn QAI if I'm not a developer before I master that triangle on any of the business platforms such as Claude Cowork.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing your personal experience about the bathroom renovation and how it relates to AI. And well, I hope to see you next week for another interview about interesting AI stuff.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye bye.